Welcome to a new episode of the 90s Metal Gamer, where we stay hydrated and play video games. I think it's time to go back to the real reason why I wanted to create this channel, 90s games, and we're going to start off with Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Now, many of you may already know this, or not for that matter, but the Sonic franchise will always hold a special place in my heart, regardless of what kind of game it puts out, whether it be good or bad. Main reason being is because Sonic is what got me into gaming in the 90s when I was just a wee little boy. I have said this many times, more specifically in every Sonic game that I have played on this channel. And Sonic 3 and Knuckles is no different. Even though nobody asked for my opinion, I'm still going to use this platform to voice it. 2D Sonic games are far more superior than 3D Sonic games. Now, to a certain extent, because there are a lot of exceptions. The biggest one being Sonic Generations and Sonic Frontiers. And Sonic 06 is just all around trash, and we all know it. Sonic and the Black Knight and Sonic and the Secret Rings follow suit with Sonic 06. Now, of course, this is all based on personal opinion. I have mine, and you will obviously have yours about the Sonic series. And I'd love to hear yours. Drop a comment and let me know what you think of the Sonic series in general. Which one do you think is better, 2D or 3D? In case you haven't figured it out by now, this is a casual review of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. But just a little bit different. I actually did 100% completion on this game, and I can prove it to you. Except, there was a catch. I cheated. Yes, I cheated. I used an emulator to play this game, and the emulator allowed me to use Game Genie cheat codes. Before you start writing in the comments, well, probably not, but let me explain why I decided to use cheat codes. I have beaten this game already without cheat codes. Now, I think that grants me permission to use cheat codes. Wouldn't you think the same thing? I cannot remember when I first played Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but what I do know is that Sonic and Knuckles released in October of 1994. Considering that, I had to have been at least 7 years old when I first played this game. I'm going to go off on a wild tangent and say I was maybe around 8, 9, maybe 10 years old when I first got my hands on it. And if I was able to beat it at 10 years old, I think I am worthy enough to use cheat codes 26 years later at the age of 36. For 100% transparency, I'm going to admit what cheat codes I used. They were I don't lose rings when I touch an enemy, and I don't lose rings when I turn supersonic. Over the course of this review, we're going to go over the story, the gameplay, the presentation, and the music. And then we'll wrap it all up with a water score. Cue the channel intro.
And then the Lord said,
I want to see your tiny head.
Before I get into this review video, I want to talk a little bit about the production and developmental process of Sonic 3 and Knuckles and how it came to be. All of the information that I have in regards to the production and development process of Sonic 3 and Knuckles came from a website called VintageIsTheNewOld.com. I have to give credit where credit is due. The first thing I want to talk about is the music production about this game. Michael Jackson did work on the music for this game, but he did not want to be credited, and I'll tell you why. At the time of developing this game, making music for a video game was very limited in terms of the technology available. When the final mixdown of the music was created for the game, Michael Jackson was not happy with the way that it sounded coming out of the console. Keep in mind, this is 16-bit music. Again, that is 16-bit music of the 90s. Since Michael Jackson did not like the way that it sounded coming out of the console, he did not want to be associated with a product that devalued his music. Therefore, he is not credited. Sonic 3 and Knuckles was actually meant to be one huge Sega Genesis game, but due to time constraints and cartridge limitations, the developers had to split the game. Sonic 3 released February 2nd, 1994, and Sonic & Knuckles released October 18th, 1994. The Sonic & Knuckles cartridge is really unique too. It had what Sega calls lock-on technology, and at the time, it was amazing technology. Keep in mind, this is 1994 again. The cartridge itself had another cartridge slot on top of it. It was designed for Sonic 3, but you could also use Sonic 2 as well. And actually, you can use any other game really. With Sonic 2 connected to Sonic & Knuckles, Knuckles becomes a playable character in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which I thought was pretty cool. And if you can already guess, when you connect Sonic the Hedgehog 3 to Sonic & Knuckles, you get the full experience of how Sonic 3 was supposed to be played. And if you connect any other Genesis game to the Sonic & Knuckles cartridge, you get access to all of the Blue Sphere stages, and there are a lot of them to choose from. And that pretty much sums up the production and the development process for Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the story. As many of you already know, I suck at storytelling, so I'm just gonna let the game tell the story for me. Enjoy. You really don't gather a whole lot of information from this short little cutscene, so we're going to discuss it just a little bit further. Sonic finds his way onto Angel Island. As he arrives, he is thwarted by Knuckles, who is brainwashed by Eggman, or Robotnik. I don't know which one he's going by in this game. We'll go with Robotnik. Knuckles is Robotnik's gopher here. His job is to stop Sonic at all costs before he can gather all 7 Chaos Emeralds once more. The Chaos Emeralds are very well hidden throughout the game in these giant rings that you'll find. Once you find these giant rings, you'll be transported to a Blue Sphere stage. Collect all the Blue Spheres, and you have a Chaos Emerald. Congratulations. As you progress through the game, you will randomly run into Knuckles, and during these short encounters, the things he does is just to slightly inconvenience you. Like here, he just turns off the lights in Carnival Night Zone. That is just a slightly weird thing to do here, but he's just following orders from Eggman at this point. Towards the end of the game, you will fight Knuckles, and you knock some sense into him. Here's the whole fight. As you can see, I was able to beat him with no effort because I was hypersonic. What you see right here is foreshadowing of the final fight in this game. I thought this little nugget was really cool. Now that Knuckles got his senses knocked back to him, he is making it his goal to assist you any way he can. Have a look. As you can see, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles are all besties now, almost as if it lines up with the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie. Speaking of which, I can't wait for Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie to come out. I think it's supposed to release December 2024. Don't quote me on that though. It wouldn't be a proper Sonic game if it didn't have something to do with the Chaos Emeralds. And the way Sonic 3 and Knuckles has these emeralds in this game is just slightly different from previous 2D Sonic titles. There are actually two sets of emeralds to collect, one set in the Sonic 3 levels and the second set in the Sonic and Knuckles stages. Collecting the 7 Chaos Emeralds in the Sonic 3 levels will grant you the ability to go Super Sonic. As Super Sonic, you are nearly invincible, except you can still get crushed by objects and drown and fall into bottomless pits. In order to transform into Super Sonic, you just need to collect 50 rings and double tap the jump button, and there it is. Like I mentioned earlier, the second set of emeralds are in the Sonic and Knuckles stages, and once you collect all those, you can transform into Hypersonic. I like the way they did this cutscene here. Have a look. And you transform into Hypersonic the same way you would transform into Supersonic. Double tap the A button once you collect 50 rings, and there you go. There's not really a huge difference between Supersonic and Hypersonic, except that Hypersonic has sparkles around him, and he has the ability to flash the screen and kill everything that is on screen. I thought that was really cool. And yes, it is possible to collect all 7 of the Super Emeralds in Mushroom Hill Zone. It is possible. I looked up a guide for it. Okay, the story segment of this video went on for a little bit longer than I was anticipating, but that's okay. We're gonna go ahead and get into the gameplay segment of this video. There's really not a whole lot to talk about in terms of the gameplay. It plays exactly like all previous Sonic titles, Sonic 1 and Sonic 2. I guess what Sega was thinking is, if it's not broke, don't fix it, at least for a 2D platformer. The most authentic way to play this game would be on a Sega Genesis with the Sega Genesis controller. But I did not play it like that. Like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, this was emulated on my PC. And I used Game Genie cheat codes, and I used the Xbox Series X controller. And in case you didn't know, I played this game with a stretched view, and I see a lot of comments here and there on YouTube saying this is not the best way to play, but for me, it really didn't hinder my gameplay at all. In fact, I think it enhanced it. But of course, everybody plays their games differently, and that's okay. We all know that Sonic is about his speed, and Sonic 3 and Knuckles delivers on that. But at the same time, there were a few places where I felt like it slowed down just a tad, but not enough to where it hindered my gameplay. It was great. Overall, the gameplay experience was pretty solid. As with any other Sonic game, the controls were easy to learn and easy to master. And I did not notice any lag input while I was playing the game. But keep in mind, this is emulated and I used the Xbox Series X controller. Hot take on the graphics for Sonic 3 and Knuckles. They are both way ahead of their time. This was made in 1994, and this is just beautiful. I don't know how else to put it. These days, we all expect to see super realism and whatnot in terms of graphics. And in the early 90s, super realism was not as popular, nor was it technologically available at the time. At least, not as much as it is now. And if you ask me, Sonic 3 and Knuckles is the best looking 2D side-scroller of all time. And I have to admit, I am clearly speaking out of pure bias for this game. It's mostly because of what Sonic was to me as a kid. It is what I grew up with as far as gaming. Looking back to when I first played Sonic 3 and Knuckles and comparing it to how I'm playing it now, there really is no difference. I am still in shock and awe over these graphics. They are amazing. Most of the colors were bright colors, but as you can see here, there were quite a few darks as well. Sonic is meant to be a colorful game, and I believe that Sega wanted to leave no stone unturned when developing Sonic 3 and Knuckles. 10 out of 10. I absolutely love these graphics here. You can't say that this music doesn't make you feel some type of way. This is beautiful. Just listen to it. There is no possible way that you could just sit there listening to this music and not want to groove with it. It just makes you want to get up and dance. It's great. I love it. I really wish I could play the entire soundtrack in this video, but that would eat up a lot of the time here. So instead, I just played a few levels of my favorite songs. Overall, the music is great. Each level has its own specific theme, and it fit it perfectly. 10 out of 10. Sonic & Knuckles did not get the creative recognition that it truly deserves, and what I mean by that is more specifically the lock-on technology with the cartridge. Like I mentioned earlier in this video, Sonic 3 and Knuckles was meant to be a massive game, but due to time constraints and the technological limitations of the 90s, they separated it. That was super innovative at the time, and I feel like it is not talked about enough. No matter how many times I play Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the end result will always be the same. I end up with a huge smile on my face knowing that I completed this game and collected a total of 14 Chaos Emeralds. That means 7 regular Chaos Emeralds and 7 Super Emeralds. Someone correct me if I'm wrong in the comments please, but I'm quite certain that this is the only time that we've ever seen a Hypersonic. From what I understand, Hypersonic is not canon to the Sonic series. I would like to believe that it's just an incentive for collecting 14 Chaos Emeralds. I think I'm going to go with that. Regardless with whatever's going to happen with Hypersonic, I thoroughly enjoyed playing this game. I don't care how many times I play it, I will never ever get bored of this game. All things considered guys, I will give this game a water score of 5 out of 5 bottles of water. I would like to know your opinion of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. What do you think of the lock-on technology from the 90s? Thank you for watching my video all the way to the end. I truly do appreciate it, and I truly do mean that. I appreciate every single one of my subscribers. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. I love y'all, stay hydrated, and stay tuned for my next video.